Good morning, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club for women to have a safe space to share and inspire each other and to learn from a different presenter each week. So we're so fortunate to have Loveleen Muhoozi this morning to be sharing with us about forgiveness and self-compassion. So Loveleen, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background and why you decided to choose this topic. Please, thank you. You're muted, Loveleen.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Loveleen, and I am originally from Africa, from a small country called Uganda. And today I'm going to share. Can I share my slides or?
Yes, you can go ahead and share your slide.
Yeah, today I'm going to speak to you about. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so my topic today is about forgiveness and self-compassion, and I added a little bit of it, slaying the giants of anger and forgiveness and bitterness rather. I'm not talking about the subject matter because I've read about it or because I've heard someone's story about it. I'm just going to talk about it because I'm very passionate about it, because anger, rage, bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness, bitter tears, and feelings of hatred and vengeance almost took my life. And that's why I'm very passionate about this subject matter. I talk about it because I know that many people are in bondage today as a result of unforgiveness. People are in prisons today as a result of anger and rage and unforgiveness. The sicknesses that we experience today are all off the back of this, I call it a demon, because it is just there to cause destruction in people's lives. So that's why I'm very passionate about this subject matter. So I will speak to you, and then I will use my personal story to explain why I'm very passionate about this. And I will share my personal story as we go along. The reason why I talk about this subject matter is because of what my mom did to me when I was growing up. She told me something that really angered me for years. During my teen years, my mom, one time I went to visit my mom and she said that if I don't eat, I will die very soon. So I wondered what she meant by that, only to hear her say that it's because I have HIV/AIDS, a disease that I've never suffered from before, and I don't know why she came up with that. And because I was in my teen years at that time, and because I was still back in Africa, I could not confront her in any form. I didn't even ask her what she meant by that or why she said that or where she got the allegation from. So what I did, I kept quiet, but then after I traveled to UK to go and study, that's when my anger set in. It started eating me up on the inside, and I did not know. I didn't know that I was suffering from these deep-rooted levels of anger. And then before I knew it, I developed sickness and disease. This went on for years, so many years, 8 years of deep-rooted anger and pain. I did not know how to expel it. I did not know how to come out of that. I just did not know whom to speak to about it because I was ashamed. And I said to myself, maybe if I tell somebody what my mom told me, people will think that I'm sick. And I wasn't sick in any form. And when I go to the UK, I went and did a blood test 3 months after my arrival, just to prove what my mom was saying. I said to myself, let me go for a blood test and see whether my mom is telling the truth, only to find that I was HIV negative. And my mind said that I should send her the result. And I said, but why should I bother? This is someone that is bent on destroying me with her allegations. So I kept quiet and moved on. But within my mind, I did not move on because I was angry. And I made a vow that I will never go back home. So I spent 8 years in the UK without going to Africa. I did not travel to Africa in any form, and I stayed distant to my mom. My distance between her and me kept on becoming smaller and smaller. And when she recognized actually that I was very distant, she asked for forgiveness after 8 good years. This when she asked me for forgiveness, she sent me a text message and she said, "I'm sorry, please forgive me." She knew what she had done, so she asked for forgiveness. And that was when I forgave my mom. And that sets the tone for today's presentation. So what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is letting go of anger and resentment. Who hasn't been hurt in this life? We've all been hurt by people's actions and words. Forgiveness means different things to different people. Perhaps a parent, like I've just mentioned, my mom might have criticized you or said something that you didn't like. A colleague at work might have sabotaged your project. A partner or a husband might have maybe had an affair outside, or maybe a traumatic experience that you have had before, sexual abuse. I've had kids that have been abused by their parents, emotional abuse or physical abuse. Whatever it is, all those incidents leave wounds on us that leave lasting feelings of resentment, bitterness, anger, and sometimes hatred. Holding on to pain makes people like us, like me, you pay a very high cost. You pay the cost of staying in pain and in anger for so long. So by embracing forgiveness, then you embrace peace and hope. Forgiveness is setting the prisoner free. When you eventually find out that that prisoner is actually you. I was in a self-imposed prison of anger and rage for 8 good years. And I didn't know that I was in prison until when I stepped out. That's when I knew that I was in a self-imposed prison. Forgiveness is the ability to make peace with the word no. When we don't get what we want, for instance, you apply for a job and you do not get it, or your manager does not give you the promotion that you deserve, are you able to feel or to forgive him or to forgive the panel of the interview and move on? Is when we don't get what we want, then we now get feelings of unforgiveness. Forgiveness is being, oh, sorry, my laptop is, is having the open-heartedness to move on, to move forward, the acceptance of what has happened to you. I'm accepting this in the way it is because I want to move on to the next level of my life. Especially if you have feelings of hatred and shame, like I've mentioned. My situation brought a lot of shame on me, not because I shared it, but what my mom did to me. I said to myself, why should she say that I have HIV when I don't have it? So I was very ashamed to share it. So forgiveness takes away that shame and the feelings of hate. They are a byproduct of denying yourself stories that we own, denying the truth instead of owning our own stories. When I'm not ashamed today of telling you what happened to me because I've outgrown what I went through. That's why I'm able to share. This is the second time that I'm sharing what happened to me. So I am not ashamed of coming here to say that this is what my mom said to me or this is what I'm going through. So the best way to defeat shame is to share your story like what I'm doing now and to connect with people. Surviving an atrocity or abuse shouldn't be seen as weakness or shameful. It is strength. It frees you from the controller of an aggressor, that is forgiveness. You feel free because when you allow the aggressor or the person who did that hurt to you to live rent-free in your brain, then they take away your power. So freeing forgiveness, by forgiving that person, you free yourself from their control and you set yourself free. Forgiveness is essential to self-healing. You get healed from whatever happened to you because anger and unforgiveness, they affect our health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health. Every sphere of our health, it gets attacked by anger and resentment. So it is essential to self-healing. During the time when I was angry, I found myself developing lumps in my breasts. The first one came through my left-hand side breast, and it was as big as an egg. It kept growing and growing, and I said to myself, I wonder what this is all about. Good enough, I did not tell anybody about it, but I didn't want anyone to feel so sorry for me. And before I knew it, another one developed in my right-hand side breast, under my armpit. And that was very painful. And I said to myself, I'm not going to go to any hospital or even speak to any doctor. I'm going to carry this burden on my own and embark on a journey of self-healing. Let me see whether this healing really works. And then I changed my diet, did lots of exercises, and I decided to step away from anger. That's when I decided to take a decision and reduce the levels of stress that I had and embark on a journey of forgiveness, and aligned myself with people who I was aspiring to become. And that's when I noticed that the one in my left-hand side breast was beginning to shrink. It shrank, and then after 5 months, it disappeared. And I said to myself, if this one can disappear, then this lump in my right-hand side breast will also disappear. So after 12 months, both of them disappeared. I didn't go through any treatment, no chemotherapy, no doctors, no hospital, nothing. Just self-healing restored my health. Forgiveness is a virtue. It's a virtue for the brave. Weak people do not forgive. It's only the strong people that forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. It gives you or the other person who has decided to forgive to make a chance to make a new beginning. Forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself. It's not an item that you go to Amazon and purchase and bring to your house or give to another person. No, forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself so that you can move on with your own life. It is a weapon that you use to free yourself and your spirit from fear. Had it been that I allowed what my mom told me to cause the fear that she intended to instill in my life, I don't think I would have been alive today. Because I kept thinking that maybe I am sick. Maybe I am sick. Even after I had tested negative, I still had it at the back of my mind. Maybe this woman is right, maybe I'm sick. And had it been that I did not step away from home, that fear that she put in me would have killed me. And maybe you wouldn't have known me today. Now, what are the causes of unforgiveness? Deep hurt is one of them. Deep hurt, instances where someone has been emotionally or sexually abused, or people like us who have been insulted by parents. When you get that deep hurt, it doesn't allow you to forgive so easily, especially if the act has gone on for so many years. To come out of it is a struggle. It's a process, quite all right, but then deep hurt causes deep wounds on the inside. So that's what causes unforgiveness. Secondly, dwelling on hurtful events, like what happened to me. I dwelt on what my mom said, and when she kept on insisting on it, it became an event that I kept on dwelling on for years. So many years, 8 years. For instance, what my mom said to me, so dwelling on hurtful events is also a cause of unforgiveness. Breach in relationships, people that have had marriages break down, people have gone through divorces or separations or anything at all that breaches people's unforgiveness. You know, it brings unforgiveness, and then it holds, the unforgiveness always holds on to the right of feeling that as if it should inflict pain on somebody in return for the perceived offense. And forgiveness believes that my perceived hurt is more important than the reconciliation and the relationship that I should have with people. Next item is deep bitterness and contempt, an unavoidable symptom of unforgiveness. Bitterness is something that evidences itself either through anger, hostility, or apathy. It also creates a desire to revenge. You might want to revenge. I didn't know how to revenge for what my mom did. I could not beat her up. I could not say anything that will hurt her. She was my mom. I was young at the time. I didn't even know how I should revenge because of what she said. I didn't have the ability to do so. So that caused me prolonged periods of unforgiveness, it also gives one negative power. One's negative power to think like as if they will have an upper hand and the control of the aggressor. Unforgiveness causes someone pride. It brings pride. People they feel as if they are full of themselves. They feel as if forgiving will lower their status in society. Things like people, especially when you have people like spouses, they might hurt you, a spouse or a husband, whatever, they might hurt you, and then they feel so proud to forgive. And then they carry on with their bad behavior because of that pride that they have. That's what causes people unforgiveness. So we have consequences of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness has got its own consequences. And each time I look at that photograph that I've put in the slide there, I wonder what that man was thinking when he was sitting there as he cut that branch. For unforgiveness causes loss of health and vitality. I was sick for so many years, the 8 years that I was angry with the lumps in my breast. And before I knew it, I descended in a fit of depression for 2.5 years. I didn't know that I was depressed. It was my sister whom I used to talk to on a daily basis that told me that you are depressed. I did not know that I was depressed. It was later, after 2.5 years, I was attending a meeting at work. And it was, I think, a mental health month. One of my colleagues was giving us a testimony of how he recovered from depression. And everything that he was talking about was in alignment with what I was going through previously. That's when I knew that I was in a fit of depression for 2.5 years, and I did not know. Again, I did not take medication. I didn't go to any doctor or anything. I only recovered after I traveled out of the country, went back to Africa, and then the 3.5 weeks that I was there, I mingled with friends, with my siblings, and then I came back to the normal level of life that I went on, and that's how my depression disappeared, just like that. Unforgiveness causes loss of hope. Most people who are so angry, to high levels of anger, they can't see light at the end of the tunnel. They don't think that they can live a different life, a life full of peace and hope. They lose hope completely, and they hold on to that element of unforgiveness. It eats away someone's character. When you are so angry and unforgiving, you start behaving in a weird manner. People don't even like staying around you. You become so angry. Anything that someone says, it triggers your anger, it triggers your temper, and changes your character completely, to the point that you find yourself lonely because you find it difficult to mingle with people, or anything little that someone does, it scratches your area of anger, and then it flips your top. So it changes people's character. And forgiveness it makes people to cease to enjoy our company when we are so angry. It ruins relationships. Marriages have broken as a result of unforgiveness. And you become a slave to the aggressor, like I said before. When someone angers you or acts inappropriately, and you hold on to that they have done to you without forgiving, then you become their slave. And each time you think about what they did to you, you remember what they did, and you say to yourself, I'm not going to forgive this person. I will never forgive this person. Had it been that I did not take action and forgive my mom, I would still be angry with my mom today, because I spent so many years away from her. And the fact that I never used to see her all the time, it's prolonged that process of healing. So it ruins relationships, and then you become a slave to the offender and the aggressor. You become irritable, anxious, and depressed. I've just mentioned to you that I was depressed for 2.5 years, and I did not know. You lose freedom to a good life, freedom to enjoy life, freedom to be yourself, because you are trapped. You are trapped in that prison of anger and bitterness and rage and unforgiveness. So what do you do when you're struggling with unforgiveness? try and practice empathy. Try seeing the situation from the other person's point of view. Flip your focus. When I knew why my mom was behaving the way she was behaving, I put myself in her shoes. My mom did not grow up with her dad. Her dad died when she was young, and she grew up with her uncle and her cousins. So she did not have the love of a mother that I personally had for a few years that I was back home. So she did not grow up the way I grew up. And then I placed myself in her shoes and I said, maybe I could have behaved the way she behaved, or even worse. So try and flip your focus and place yourself in that person's shoes. Ask yourself about the cause. What caused it? People who are in relationships and maybe a husband or a spouse misbehaves, or maybe at work your manager starts mistreating you, ask yourself why. What is the reason behind all this? Why is this person treating me like this? Why are they afflicting me? Try and find what caused it. Reflect on the times that other people forgave you. We all make mistakes, we all hurt people, we all anger people. So you need to think about, I did this to somebody and they forgave me. So reflect on the time that you are forgiven so that you can forgive other people. Write it down in a journal. Whatever is hurting you, put it down, write it down in a journal, pray, use guided meditation. I went through this whole Ho'oponopono processes and things to put myself back in alignment. I went through quite a lot of things, meditation, I prayed, prayer became my friend. And then these whole Ho'oponopono things, I wrote my anger down, everything that my mom said, how it affected me, everything is written down. I have a journal that is as big as this, but it spans a period of 8 good years. Talk to somebody. Talk to someone that you find to be wise, an elder in the community, someone that you think is compassionate. It could be a spiritual leader, it could be a mental health provider, it could be a friend. Me, I spoke to my 2 elder brothers, and then at work, we have a fringe benefit of counseling. So I took advantage of counseling and they placed me on that counseling for 8 good weeks. So I went for counseling for 8 weeks to put myself back on track. And after the 8 weeks, I was placed on a coaching session for a year. So I got myself a personal coach. He was a man, and he coached me for 12 good months and brought me back in alignment. And one other thing you need to know, that you need to be aware that forgiveness is a process. It's not something that happens at the flick of a finger, especially if the atrocity or the transgression has gone on for so long, like mine did. It takes so many years and a lot of time to forgive and come back in that place where you're supposed to be. If someone steps on your toes, you can easily forgive that person. If someone cuts right in front of you as you're driving along the motorway, you can just look at the person and say, okay, I forgive you. That is small. But if it is something that has something to do with emotional abuse, mental health abuse, or maybe physical abuse, in Africa, men hit women almost to death. You know, if something has happened to you like that, it takes such a long time to forgive someone, but it's a process. The moment you decide to embark on that process, it takes long, but it happens. So what if the person that I'm trying to forgive doesn't want to change? There are people that shock me sometimes, especially husbands or managers in positions of authority. They said, well, I'm sorry, but I am not sorry for what I did. Well, here you just have to focus on what you can control. Forgiveness is not about changing the other person, and forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is for you so that you can move on and live a healthy lifestyle. It is about focusing on what you control in the here and now. Think about forgiveness more, about how it can change your life by bringing you peace, happiness, emotional and spiritual healing. Forgiveness can take away the power, like I said earlier, of the person who is continuing to have, the power that that person continues to have in your life. The moment you forgive that person, then that grip that they have on the fabric of your personal life, it loses its own strength and power, because you're no longer thinking about them. Sometimes you might decide to block them. The people that I've forgiven, for instance, I've blocked them on all social media handles that I have. And I don't want to hear from them again. But it doesn't mean I didn't forgive them. I forgave them, let them go, and I carried on. So how do I move towards the state of forgiveness after I've gone through what I've gone through? You need to recognize that you need to recognize the value of forgiveness and how it can improve your life. It brings you peace, it brings you happiness, freedom that no money can buy. You need to identify what needs healing. When I went through what I went through with my mom, what I worked on was my mind, because she assassinated my brain and my mind in such a way that she instilled fear in me, and she tried to capture maybe what I would have become in the future. She was trying to destroy my destiny, destroy my hopes, to destroy my dreams, to destroy everything I was trying to build in the future. And then when I embarked on a journey of healing, I worked on my mind first. And that's why I went for counseling and then went for coaching, to put myself in alignment again. And then I worked on my body because I needed to recover from the things that were in my breasts, and I needed to put myself back on where I'm supposed to be as a human being. So identify what needs healing so that you can forgive. Join a support group. Like I've just mentioned, me personally, I have connected groups that I go to. I have people that I speak to. I have friends that I connect with online. We talk, we laugh, we chat. I have closest confidants, people that I can confide in and say to them, this is what is happening to me. What can I do? My two elder brothers are very close to me. Because they went through what I went through with my mom, we all align each time we are talking about what we have faced with our mom. So I speak to them and confide in them. Acknowledge the emotions that the harm has done to you. Recognize that these emotions affect your behavior, work, and then release them. Choose to forgive the person who has offended you. When my mom sent me that text message and she said, please forgive me, I immediately forgave. I didn't even think, I didn't even look backwards, I didn't look sideways. I said, okay, I forgive my mom, I release her. Instantly, I just said it, and that was it. So choose to forgive the person who has offended you. Release the control and the power that the offending person and the situation has had in your life. I've said that several times. Now, when you find that you are the one who needs forgiveness, first of all, you need to forgive yourself. After I embarked on a journey of forgiveness and after I had released my mom, I now felt like as if there were pockets of unforgiveness that were hanging on around me. So what I did, I decided to forgive myself because my anger and my behavior affected my eldest son because he was born in the years when I was so angry with my mom. So what I did, forgave myself and decided to ask for forgiveness, first of all, from my son. So I wrote a letter to him. And in that letter, I said, please forgive me for the way I behaved towards you and how I've been behaving all these years. Forgive me for not knowing any better, for not doing A, B, C, D for you. And from now onwards, I'll make it up to you. I'll do A, B, C, D. And then at the bottom of the letter, I said, please forgive me. Loving, Mom. And then I made an appointment with him and I went and I read the letter to him in his bedroom. And then I handed it over to him. So when you think you are the one who needs forgiveness, first of all, forgive yourself. And then for not knowing better, forgive yourself for giving away your power. Because when the transgressor actually is still holding on to you, then it means you have surrendered your power to them, especially if you have not forgiven them. Forgive yourself for the survival patterns and the traits that you pick up when you are in that season of facing trauma. Some people pick up different behaviors and habits, and then they find it difficult to let go of those things when they embark on the journey of forgiveness. So forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it. Had it been that I knew what I know today, I don't think I would have been in that prison for 8 years. But I've forgiven myself. Well, it's not my fault that I wasn't on personal development. I was young in Africa. Personal development at the time, it was not something that we knew. So I've forgiven myself for not knowing what I know today at the time. Lastly, do not judge yourself too harshly. Like I said, not knowing what I know today, it means nothing to me because we all learn on a daily basis. And I'm glad that I've known it now. I'm glad that I've developed myself. I'm glad that I'm able to use my story today to set the captives free. So now we have benefits of forgiveness. Forgiveness has got its own benefits. You get freedom, like I've mentioned before, freedom to live a happier life, a healthy life, freedom to do whatever you want and to live like a normal human being. It brings happiness that no money can buy. It is better for physical health. Like I said before, my health was affected as a result of excessive levels of anger and bitterness. And recently when I was reading a medical journal of Harvard University, they said that unforgiveness and excessive levels of anger, they harden the arteries of the heart and the liver. And if those arteries get hardened, obviously the blood will not flow to other parts of the body, and someone can easily die as a result of that. So forgiveness, it gives you a stronger mental immune system, fewer symptoms of depression, healthier relationships. If you find it much easier to forgive, then you can stay in a good relationship with your spouse. You find it much easier to work in a team at work, bearing in mind that we work with people from all walks of life, with different characters, with different things, baggages that you're carrying around. So if you find it easy to forgive, then you live in a healthy relationship. You have less anxiety, stress, hostility, lower blood pressure, growth beyond what you are today. Then you feel as if you're in control of your life, and then you set boundaries. When I forgave my mom, I set a boundary between me and her. And I said, from now onwards, you can only come this far. And that's the boundary I set with my mom. She can't go beyond that boundary because I don't want her to take me back to where I was before. When I'm talking to her on the phone and she kicks off and tries to divert me back to where she put me, all I say to her is, I'll speak to you later. Then I'll spend a week without talking to her. And by the time I go back to her, she has forgotten what she was trying to send, and we'll carry on from there. So I've set a boundary between me and my mom because I don't want her to take me back to where I'm coming from. Lastly, there is a saying that I stumbled on that says that he who cannot forgive breaks the bridge over which he himself must pass. To err is human, to forgive is divine. And that's my presentation for today.
Bravo.
Wow, Loveleen, that was such an amazing story.
Woo,
Wow,
woo.
thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I have no idea, how deep that was. Who can relate to Loveleen, or any comments from any of you?
I'm telling you, Loveleen, when you talk and you talk from your heart like that, it goes deep into my own heart. I was crazy making notes here because I just love your presentation, and that presentation is going to fall on everyone that needs their healing, that knows that they need their healing and is ready. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, that is an amazing share. Thank you so much, Loveleen. Binta, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Loveleen, I just commend you. I've heard your story before, and I just commend you. And what I love about everything that you just said is the fact that, having empathy, realizing that your mother was also going through pain. What made her treat you that way was because she was also suffering, and that you realized that. So I commend you for that, because forgiveness is what makes the world go round. I realize, you see all the pain that is being caused in the world. It's all because people have anger in their hearts. Some people have so much anger that they have to inflict their pain upon other people. It's all about what we hold on in the heart, and forgiveness makes you feel lighter. Forgiveness brings people into your life. And for me, this is what I live my life with, just letting my heart just be open. and just spread love into the world and love anybody that I come in contact with on the street. Just smile, spread love. And when you see somebody that is going through something, talk to them, help them, try to help them. When they're angry with you, don't be angry back. Just talk to them and try to understand it, because there's suffering inside. Anybody that you see acting up and doing crazy things is because they're suffering inside and they don't have any support. And so I commend you for that. I commend you for forgiving your mother, knowing that she also was suffering and that she didn't know what to do. And so I'm so happy that you are now helping people back home and be able to educate people, because you know where we come from, we don't have some things like that. People back home hold on to so much anger. In my own family right now, there's so much things going on that it's like, I'm the one who always try to bring people together. And when I do, some of them just think I'm crazy, but I still forgive them knowing that they don't know better. When you know better, you do better. Who said that? I think Maya Angelou said
Oprah.
that.
Oprah.
Oprah, okay. So anyway, I commend you and I love you, and you know, I just
Probably got it from
my
Maya
goodness.
Angelou.
Thank you. Thank you
I
so
think
much.
you were right though, Binta. Oprah
What?
probably I said, I think you were right though, Binta. Oprah probably got it from Maya Angelou, because that's her.
Okay.
Right,
Either
probably.
way,
Yes, I
like
think
it.
so, actually.
Either way, I like it, because when I know better, I do better, right? So thank you so much. I'm just so happy for you, proud of you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Arlene.
Can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Yes. Go
All
ahead.
right. I want to say thank you so much, Loveleen. That was wonderful. Beautiful presentation, beautiful detail. But it triggered something in me because I have an aunt who is now ailing, and I got a call from my cousin asking me if I wanted to reach out to her because she could possibly be at death's door. So I run around and I've been talking about, overcoming fear and getting unstuck and how happy I am, and completely forgot about the relationship that I had with my aunt because I just wrote her off. You know how we say, well, if it's not a good relationship, just leave it alone. Or I share that with people all the time. Well, I left it alone so much so that I forgot all about her. My cousin said to me, she's ailing. Would I like to call her? I was speaking to another cousin in England, and I didn't even want to refer to her as my aunt. I had to type the message to her and say, our Aunt Bev is sick. And I couldn't even type Aunt Bev because I had so dismissed her from my consciousness as far as my aunt. Yeah, she's a person, but for me to call her aunt means that I'm developing a relationship. So as you were speaking, it was reminding me, and I'm really appreciative, Loveleen, of you sharing, because it was reminding me of how I have to forgive. And maybe, not even maybe, the reason I don't want to refer to her as aunt is because I have not forgiven her. Because if I had, it would be no big deal to call her aunt and move on, and even to call her now and speak to her. But now I don't know what to say when I call her. I was born in the United States. I went to school in Jamaica as a boarder. And on the weekends, I would go home to my family. My aunt was supposed to come and pick me up and take me to the family house while I was there at school. But she didn't want to come and pick me up. And so she used to treat me badly because I guess she was the designated person. I don't know the details as to why, but from where I sat, she was a wealthy lady doing well. There was no situation where she didn't have her dad or she didn't have her mom. So I couldn't see how to rationalize it. But your presentation today clearly said to me, forgive. I have to call her. I have to call her and speak to her before she dies. Otherwise, I haven't forgiven. So thank you. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but your presentation today has truly impacted me to know that I have to figure it out. Thank you, Loveleen. You are wonderful. We appreciate your journey and sharing your journey so that we can make our journeys lighter. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene, for sharing that as well. This is such a wonderful conversation. Go ahead, Val.
I've experienced in my life for the last 2-3 years, because I heard that topic of forgiveness, I think I knew that in my heart from my youngest age. I had a little sister who sometimes was a little demon to me, you know, and I had to forgive. You know, when we had arguments or fights between sisters, my parent would say, now you guys kiss each other. You know, so from a very young age, that concept of forgiveness has always been here. And today in my life, I feel so much more powerful when we forgive. It's not of you anymore. It brings a huge shield of strength, of character, because when power to forgive really can get you. You know, it's a wonderful tool, mental and emotional tool that we have in our mind to be able to demonstrate and pull forward according to what's going on in our lives. And like I said, like Loveleen said, by the way, yes, Loveleen, beautiful presentation. I always dive into my things when I get on the screen, but I love this kind of topic because it reinforced to me that I'm on a good path, doing the things that I'm doing the way I'm doing them, independently of what my best friend sometimes may say to me. I'm like, I know in my conscience, that's the right thing to do. And because forgiveness is one of those, you know, spiritual attributes that we have, and that we have to protect ourselves because it's for us when we do. And because we're doing good to ourselves, we automatically gonna do also at that level, do good for others and for future relationship and and it becomes stronger and so easy to do. The more we practice forgiveness, then it's automatic, just like breathing, you know. It's as easy as I breathe. Forgiving is as easy as I breathe. So that was my take. Thank you so much, Loveleen, for the topic again today. It is very touching, and I truly believe also that it touched all of us, you know, on a personal level of what we've experienced in life. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Val. Thank you so much for your great share. It's so true. Forgiveness is as much for ourselves than for the other person we're forgiving. After Tamara, Sue, I'm going to ask you about your comment about self-forgiveness. It's really hard, but I'm going to go to Tamara now. Go ahead, Tamara.
Hi, I'm so sorry I missed part of that, but as soon as I logged on, Loveleen, oh my goodness, I was like, oh, this is because this morning I'm like, I'm missing something. Something's missing. What am I supposed to be doing? And you were calling me, obviously, because I needed to hear this. When you said, look at the other person's point of view when you're trying to forgive, that is so true. Because, you know, I had issues with my mom for a long time and dealing with all of her things. And I only looked at what she did to me. I didn't look at her life before me. So I didn't see, you know, that part wasn't registering. And when it did, that's when I was able to really, truly forgive her. And so I was like, when you're talking about this and, you know, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so powerful. I think it's just so powerful. You're really coming along. I remember the first time I heard you speak and it touched me, and this time it just was even more so. And forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about us, because it's like holding that hot coal. You know, the monk said, if it's like not forgiving somebody else is like holding a hot coal and meaning it for them, or drinking poison, you know, all those little analogies. So, wow, really powerful. Thank you. I'm really glad to be a part of this group. Sorry, I've been not coming, but it's not on purpose. So please forgive me.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you for that great share. Suzanne, I see your hand, but I'd like to go to Sue first about her comment about the self-forgiveness being very hard. Go ahead, Sue.
Oh yeah, I just made that comment because I see it in myself and pretty much almost every woman in particular that I've met, that we tend to expect ourselves to always make the best decision. Well, we can only make the best decision with the knowledge we have at that moment in time. And so we take the knowledge we have of today and apply it to yesterday. Like, why didn't I see that coming? Well, you didn't see it coming because you were young, you didn't know better. There were other influences, and just remembering that at that moment you were doing the best you can and not beating yourself up can be one of the biggest challenges we face. And I think, again, more so as women, we tend to hold ourselves to such high expectations to do everything for everybody at all times that it's easy to get caught in the trap of, oh, why didn't I? Or, oh, I should have seen that, or I should have known better. Well, cut yourself some slack, you know. You did the best you could at that moment, and now you know better, and you know you're not going to do that again, right? And move on. So that's all that was. I see so many people beat themselves up when I look at them as extraordinary people, and they don't always see it in themselves.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Sue. I could relate to that. As a mom, you know, you feel guilty about your kids, you feel guilty about your husband, you feel guilty about your family. You take care of everybody else but yourself, and then you feel guilty for even with that. But so thank you for your share. Suzanne, go ahead. Before I go to Suzanne, I just want to say, Omeka, after this, I'm gonna like to hear from you. And if you have any resentment, you know, I know you're taking care of your mom. But Suzanne, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to Sue, perception of truth is such a huge thing. What you perceive to be true, what they perceive to be true are completely different stories. And you gotta take into the fact of, let's look at their story, look at your story, and it does go up one generation. Now, Lovely and I have had the pleasure of having this conversation a number of times. So even though I missed today, I feel like I've gotten to know Loveleen so well, and I know that her story now. I'm so appreciative of her being bold enough to come out with it. For me, my first step back to having a relationship with my mom is asking her about her story, asking her where her pain comes from. And by allowing her to open up to her pain, I became more aware of how, I guess it was unknowing of how to model what she really wanted to give me, because she didn't have a model. And it goes up generation, generation, generation. And it's like, well, how do you learn how to be a good mom if you don't have a model? And it takes a strong woman to say, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this. I've broken the chain for my own girls and said, okay, I know how I was treated from my mom. So let me find ways to treat my daughters differently. And that's great, but you got to go and look at the models that came before you and say, I can't blame her for how she treated me, because she didn't have the right role model to know differently. You have to really be in this personal development to say, I'm going to break the chain and understand their story. And that's where my forgiveness and getting back to my mom came from.
Amazing share, Suzanne. It's so true. You know, we forget that they have their pain. That's why they were doing it. You know, they did what they did. They didn't know any better. Thank you
No
for
role
that,
model.
Suzanne.
Thank
Omeka, you're next.
Good morning. Grand rising, as they say, even though the sun is, well, it depends on where you are on the planet. Grand setting. Yeah, I was doing a positive prime yesterday, and it was like, I'm patient with my impatience. And I forgive myself for not forgiving. And I forgive myself for all the things that I've judged myself on now and in the past. People say the past is over and it can't hurt you. Well, I don't think that's true. Because especially since we think 60,000 plus thoughts a day, and we're thinking most of those same thoughts every day. So the past is really part of the present and will be part of our future if we don't change it. So yeah, a lot of forgiveness going on over here. I realized that I was holding a lot of anger and resentment, and therefore not forgiving someone that I felt it was my feeling, felt hurt by and disrespected by. And yeah, it's all goes to controlling our emotions and being aware of what our emotions are, and not blaming other people for them, and realizing what we might do to change how we feel about what we're experiencing, and also to change our situation if we can, or change our habits, and realize that how we act and feel affects other people. And yeah, yeah, very powerful. I was moving around doing things, but yeah, I had to kind of sit down and kind of absorb it all. And like I said, forgive myself. So thank you, Loveleen, and all these wonderful ladies here. Appreciate love ya. We say appreciate, no hate. Yeah, only love. So yeah,
Thank you
hope on
so much for
on.
that.
Yeah, hope on
Thank you,
on.
Omika. Anyone else? We have 7 more minutes we're close to the top of the hour. Julie or Amy, any comments? Julie, want to say something? Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really not well today. I've got shingles, so I'm
Oh,
just
so
off the
sorry.
wall. So no, it's all right. And I just thought, oh no, I'm just going to come on anyway. But you know, I've had a huge amount of stress lately too, and a lot of that stress has been caused by me not trusting. You know, not trusting and suppressed anger because I don't trust, and I'm too scared to think of the possibility that I might be able to trust these people, you know, instead of poisoning it all the time with my own fears. And so it really hit home today in what you said. And I thought, you know, even if the perpetrators or whatever the people you're dealing with are wrong, then you still need to forgive them and forgive yourself as well for, you know, for I think there's a part of me that thinks you can always put things right, you know. So it was lovely to hear that today. I just think it's a day for forgiveness. So lovely, really beautiful story. I missed the part of the beginning, but I could get the feel of it, and it was a beautiful presentation. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Julie. So sorry you have shingles. That's no fun. That's painful.
It's just terrible. I just, and it's just come on suddenly, and I'm as healthy as a butt rat. I can't. So it just shows that the stress levels have reached a peak, and you know, it's to wake me up, I think.
Get well soon. Since
Thanks.
we only have 5 more minutes left, Loveleen, I'm gonna hand it back to you to let you say, you know, have the last word to close this out. Thank you so much, first of all of you, for coming here and participating, contributing to this group. It's just so appreciated, but especially you, Loveleen, with that sharing that personal story. We all appreciate it. We all learned from you today. So Loveleen, go ahead.
Well, what I'm going to say is that, well, this is the second time that I'm sharing my story, although today it was not in great detail like I did last November, but this group was the first group that had the intimate parts of my private life. And last November was the opportunity that I had to get the confidence that I've always wanted to have, to bring this anger and bitterness that has been on the inside for years. And I remember last November when I told my story, after the presentation, I stood in my living room for about 5 minutes and I rehearsed what I had told. It's like as if I was preparing for another presentation, but I was letting out the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, and the fact that it had gone out at the time when I presented it to you last year. I felt so light to the point that I couldn't sit down. So after the presentation, I had to run out for brisk walking. I'm saying this to show you the extent to which this anger almost took my life. And that's why I'm very passionate about it. I know that many people are in bondage today. Anger and forgiveness and bitterness and rage and hatred and feelings of vengeance and every negative thing that you can think about is the reason behind people's setbacks, people's stagnancy in life, people's lack of prosperity, lack of progress. It's just like an evil spirit, if you like. So that's why I want to use my story. And I think what I went through it for a lifting. I don't see it as something that was happening to me as a punishment. It is for a lifting for me to go back, because I went to the pit of hell and I came back again. When you see me here, I could have died, I could have died had it been I didn't take action. And each time I celebrate my birthday, I always say that I could have died, I could have been dead by now if I did not take action to come out of where I was. So I went to hell and I came back. So I want to use my story to go back to hell and bring out people who are there, who are stuck there because of the pain, the anger, and forgiveness, bitterness, rage. People are in prison today, not because they can't pay their rent or their bills, because of anger and unforgiveness. So I think I went through what I went through to use this story to set the captives free. This is just the beginning. The fact that I'm able to share it with you, it is the beginning for me to have the courage to tell the world that I'm also a normal human being and I went through hell. What is important is that I'm still here. I did not die. That is what makes me happy, that I became strong enough to say, I'm rising above this atrocity that my mom threw at me, not because I blame her so much. After I studied and understood why she was doing what she was doing, the angle from which she was coming from her own pain because of her childhood. And that's why I decided to forgive him. And even I felt so sorry for her. I felt sorry for my mom after I had learned what she went through and what was making her behave the way she was behaving. So please, forgive, learn to forgive. It will give you the best life you can ever think of. Don't block yourself because you're holding on to anger, because you can't forgive, because you feel you're too big to say, okay, I forgive you. My formula today, I tell you that if someone comes to me wanting to afflict me, I always look at them, pity them, and smile. Yes. The power in my smile is what neutralizes the power of what they're trying to throw at me. That's the level where I am now. Nothing shakes me. Nothing moves me.
Thank you so much, Loveleen. So amazing.
Years, a very happy woman, because I spent years in bondage, in pain. So I can't allow anyone to take me back there. I can't allow it. So I choose to forgive and live a healthier, powerful, happier, peaceful life, a life of freedom. That's my message to you all.
So amazing, amazing, Loveleen. I'm gonna let Esther say something because she has her hands out. Go ahead, Esther. Go ahead. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Oh, you muted again. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, Renee, first for gathering us together. That's really nice. And this is the best, beautiful message for everybody. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Loveleen, and God bless you for giving us all this amazing, powerful message. I just want to say thank you, and it touched my heart. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Esther. I met Esther at the gym, by the way, so she's here locally.
You are my angel.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much, everyone. But Loveleen, oh my gosh, that story, amazing story. And all of you, you're so brave and so courageous, and we're so proud of you, Loveleen, for what you did. But thank you all. Looking forward to seeing all of you. I will post what the topic is for next week. I think it's Kim Rackham with the love, about love. I will post the topic for you all. And thank you again, everyone. I really so appreciate seeing you. So until
Thank
next
you.
week,
Hey,
have
Rennie,
a great, yes.
I
What was
wanted
it?
to echo that, thank you for doing this every week for everybody. I get to watch the replays and stuff. I think it has brought so much healing, and I am just so grateful that you did this.
Thank
And I
you so
wanna-
much.
And you're doing such a great job. Like, you're so, I don't know, I aspire to be like you.
Yes, yes.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yes.
I
Bravo.
appreciate to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you so much, guys. All of
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
And have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
You. Great job. Beautiful.